Okay, so let's get back into our coverage over X-Force once again. And we actually pick up with the idea of Deadpool going after Domino. Now, something you have to remember. At the end of our last video, we learned that, well, Mr. Tolliver, this mysterious character that Deadpool is working for, had apparently got very upset that Domino has not been reporting back, which basically means that Domino is actually a double agent. She's not really trying to help out Cable. She's really a spy for Mr. Tolliver. Or it also seems like that maybe she was a spy, but now she has fallen in love with Cable, that she's no longer trying to hurt Cable. Either way, Mr. Tolliver told Deadpool, hey, I need you to go have a one-on-one conversation with Domino. And so Deadpool left to go confront Domino. But as we dive into X-Force issue number 11, we don't actually pick up where the last video left off at just yet. Instead, we actually jump over to X-Force going into the tunnels of the Morlocks. Now remember, the Morlocks are a group of mutants who, unfortunately, when they had gained their mutant abilities, it also changed their body appearances as well. And so because they no longer have the ability to hide in public, being a mutant, they have to go hide in the tunnels of New York. Now, with that being said, and around this time in Marvel Comics, they were being led by a guy known as Mask. And Mask was trying his best to make a name for himself, but he also made a deal with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. If they were able to work together to take down X-Force, but to also recapture Feral, one of the members of X-Force, the Brotherhood will basically have the Morlocks be part of their army. Now, at the end of that story arc, we saw Cable and X-Force kill off Mask. And so you had Cable say, enough is enough. The rest of the Morlocks need to know that we are not a group to be messed with. And so he grabbed the body, really the head of Mask, and took the head back over to the tunnels of the Morlocks and say, hey, the rest of you Morlocks, if any of you guys try to come after us, just know you are going to end up like your boss here, who's now officially dead. And you have X-Force leave just like that. But now we can actually jump over to the idea of Deadpool going after Domino. Now, we jump back over to the base of X-Force, and when we do that, we actually see Shatterstar once again going through another training session. And I feel like almost every single time a new story arc starts off, we see Shatterstar doing some kind of training session. Either way, while he is training, he is then confronted by Deadpool. Now, this battle is very short-lived, and really, Deadpool tells us that he does know how to kill off Shatterstar. He has studied Shatterstar and knows so many different ways to actually take him out. But for Deadpool, he didn't come here to the base of X-Force to kill anybody. He came here to talk to Domino, to figure out what in the world is she actually doing being a member of X-Force. But with that being said, you do have Deadpool being able to easily take out Shatterstar. But now we can actually get into the battle between Deadpool and Domino. Now, this battle does last for a good amount of pages, but really for X-Force, it's all about the action rather than the actual, well, story. And so we do see Deadpool and Domino go at it. And really, it does seem like they're evenly matched. But you do have Deadpool being the one to be able to pull the win out. But he does tell Domino, I only came here to technically talk to you, quotation marks, to kind of inform you to get your act together, because you were not put here to fall in love with Cable, to actually be part of the whole X-Force team. You were put here to be a spy, to report back to Mr. Tolliver. So I'm going to leave, and hopefully we do hear back from you. But the next time we see each other, it better be a good meeting rather than a bad one, because hey, the next time it's bad, I'm going to kill you. But now we have to jump over to Weapon X, and not the actual Weapon X, but the guy with the code name better known as Weapon X. You see, for Garrison Kane, he works for Department K, and Department K is Canada's secret government force. Now, they had relaunched the Weapon X program, and they had turned Garrison Kane into their next weapon, a cyborg basically, and he took up the code name Weapon X. Now, when it comes to Garrison, we had learned that he does have a past connection with Cable, and that'll be the idea that in the past, Cable had another team called the Wild Pack, and Garrison Kane was part of that team. Now, we did learn that something happened after he was part of that team that led to him becoming a cyborg thanks to Weapon X. But either way, in our last video, Garrison Kane was on a mission where he was then confronted by different members of the Mutant Liberation Front. Now, that actual terrorist group is being led by Strife, and you had Weapon X, well, be confronted by Strife. And when you had Strife take off his helmet, he looked just like Cable. Now, we are just pretending like we have no idea what's going on. We actually do. But with that being said, for Garrison Kane, he believes that Strife is actually Cable. And that means that Cable is actually a leader of a terrorist group. And so after learning that, he went back over to G.W. Bridge, who works for S.H.I.E.L.D. And he said, hey, we need to go ahead and take down Cable because he is leading the Mutant Liberation Front, the terrorist group. Now, for Bridge, to him, that makes no sense. Why would Cable lead both teams, X-Force and also the MLF group, against each other? And so for Bridge, he wants more proof. But for Kane, no, we don't have time for proof. It's time to bring Cable down. And so he launches Weapon Prime, a new team of characters to go after Cable. Now, one of those characters we actually seen before, and that would be Richter, because remember, we had learned that Richter also does not like Cable either, because something happened to Richter's father thanks to Cable. Now, the ending of this chapter, we actually pick up with Mr. Tolliver. Now, again, we still don't know much about the actual character. We do know about, like, who the different people who are working for him, but that's really it. And apparently he has a big plan coming down the road. But you then have Mr. Tolliver walk into this chamber where he is apparently keeping somebody. And when he gets to the bottom of the actual chamber, we kind of find out that he's keeping Domino. And so it's kind of confusing because we saw Deadpool leave Domino behind, but now we see Domino here being held as a prisoner. So now the question is there two different, well, Dominoes? But as we dive into X-Force issue number 12, we did pick up in Madripoor. Now, Madripoor is a small country in Marvel Comics where, you know, you are technically allowed to get away with most crimes in that country. I say most, not all, but most crimes. Now, with that being said, we are actually picking up with a new external. Now, remember, externals around this point in our coverage over the X-Men is still a new concept. We're still learning the idea of what the externals truly are, but we do get the idea that there is a small group of them and they may have the ability of immortality. Now, we do pick up with a character known as Cruel, and Cruel is the latest externals that we are going to learn about. And we see him being very upset that he was technically cheated out of a game of poker or some kind of card game at a bar. But then he's confronted by Gideon. Now remember, when it comes to Gideon, we at first had no idea who he was, but then we slowly begin to learn more about the character. We also learn that he is also an external. Now, he was looking for the most recent High Lord, the newest external who would have the ability of immortality. And at first, he believed it was Sunspot, somebody he had stayed close to for a very long time, to only find out that he was wrong, it was Cannonball. But now he is here to recruit Cruel to help him get Cannonball onto their side. But now we have to jump over to X-Force. Now, when we do, it's the point where we now have X-Force technically finding out what Domino truly is, that she is a spy for Mr. Tolliver. But here's the big catch with that though, guys. You see, with her being a spy for Cable, he wants to know why she is a spy, and we begin to learn a tad bit more about the character Cable. You see, we begin to learn that Cable, before he had dismantled the Wild Pack, something happened to certain members in the Wild Pack, like Hammer and also Kane. Now, we already know that Kane is actually Weapon X, and they already had bad blood, but that bad blood got a whole lot worse now because Kane believes that Strife is Cable, that Cable is leading a terrorist group known as the Mutant Liberation Front. And with all that being said, apparently something else happened to other members of Wild Pack, including Domino, where the entire team technically hates Cable. And so when it came to Tolliver, when he said, "Hey, Domino, you want to get payback against Cable?" She was down instantly. But while she hung out with Cable and X-Force, she began to kind of like the team and being part of the team. And she changed her mind. And so she tells Cable, like, "Hey, Tolliver is still mad at you for what you have done to him, but I had changed my mind. I had changed sides. Now, for Cable, they need to think of a new game plan here." But now we have to jump back over to Weapon Prime, this team that believes that Cable is some kind of traitor. Now, we do kind of get a breakdown on who is on the actual roster. So you have Bridge, Weapon X, Wendigo, which honestly, I kind of want to know, why is Wendigo joining the Weapon Prime team to go after Cable, Richter, and Tiger Strike? But at the end of this section, we see them picking up another member to their team, and that would be Grizzly. Now, guys, Grizzly was actually part of the Wild Pack back in the day when Cable first had a team in his time point in Marvel Comics, alongside with Domino and also Bridge and Weapon X Kane. And so for Grizzly, it also seems like he's really down with the idea of going after Cable for something Cable did to him in the past. And so now Weapon Prime is ready to go after Cable officially. But while you have Weapon Prime getting ready to go over to the base of X Factor, well, you have Domino actually talking to Mr. Tolliver. Now, this is her trying to make him believe that she is back on his side again. And really, she does plan on blowing up the entire base of X-Force. But in reality, it was Cable who told her to do that. And the reason why? So that they can find a new base that's not really compromised by the idea that so many other people actually know about it, like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the Morlocks, well, now Weapon Prime, and also Mr. Tolliver. Either way, you do have Cable say, "Good job, let's go, let's get ready to blow this place up." Now, I want to jump back over to Weapon X and also Richter. And here's the reason why. So you basically have Richter telling Weapon X why he wants to go after Cable 4. And we do get reminded that technically for Richter, the reason why he hates Cable so much, because 10 years ago, Cable had killed off Richter's father. And that is the main reason why he wants to go after Cable. And so for Weapon X, that is a good enough reason to be part of Weapon Prime to go after Cable. Now, I also want to jump back over to Gideon and also Cruel. And here's the reason why. Because you have the two characters go see Sunspot. And you have basically Gideon saying, "You know what? I am done trying to work with you, Sunspot." Because remember, for Gideon, he believed that Sunspot was supposed to be the next High Lord, the next external to join his group of externals. To only find out that technically Sunspot is not the next one. That instead, it was Cannonball, which honestly is Sunspot's best friend. But either way, Gideon got it wrong. And so right now, his game plan is to get Cannonball onto his side, but to also kind of use Sunspot still to help achieve his goal to get Cannonball onto his side. But he does express by beating down on Sunspot that he's very upset that he wastes so much time trying to see if Sunspot was the next High Lord. But the ending of this chapter, we actually do pick up with Weapon Prime arriving at the base of X-Force, which means that as we dive into the next chapter, X-Force issue number 13, we're really going to get into the idea of seeing seeing X-Force fighting against Weapon Prime in one heck of a battle. And really, this is all coming down because of Cable. And so as we dive into X-Force issue number 13, we actually get into the whole battle between Weapon Prime and also X-Force. And really, the battle does go on for a good amount of pages, but while you have the battle going off, you do have some members recognizing one another, like for example, Cannonball and also Boom Boom. They recognize Richter because Richter was part of the New Mutants along with those characters at the tail end of the original New Mutants series. But either way, they kind of know that Richter always had bad blood with Cable. Now, with that being said, you didn't have Cable just run off. Like, it does seem like he's trying to get away, but in reality, he's not trying to get away. For Cable, it's really more of trying to get all the technology that he has in this base that came from the future, because he brought this tech to the past to help him out with his mission. But now his base is being attacked. He has to make sure that Weapon Prime will not be able to get their hands on his technology. Now, his weapons, he's not really worried about, because really X-Force and him are using those weapons as a way to fight against Weapon Prime. But the rest of technology that came from the future, it has to go, and it has to go now. And so we see Cable tell Professor, his computer AI, to begin to teleport every single thing out of there. But then he grabs a few weapons to rejoin the battle between Weapon Prime and X-Force. But now we can jump over to Gideon. Now, we do get the chance to learn the name of Gideon's company because, like I said in our earlier videos, that Gideon has been around with Sunspot's family for a very long time. And of course, with Sunspot's family having their own business, it would make sense that they'll be business friends. So Gideon has his own company as well. Now, most likely I'm going to mispronounce the name of this company, and it's really called the Orpha Research Facility. Either way, when you do have Gideon arrive at this research facility, we do learn that he's putting Sunspot through some kind of experiment. Now, we're not technically told what this experiment could be all about, but apparently there is a huge chance that Sunspot might not survive the actual ending of this whole experiment. And so we're left to wonder, could Sunspot be killed off? But getting back over to the battle between X-Force and also Weapon Prime, the battle really does end with X-Force being able to take out Weapon Prime. And honestly, they kind of feel excited about the idea of taking down Weapon Prime. And you have Cable make sure that they know they have the right to be proud of themselves, because what they were able to achieve, to be able to take down a team like this without no actual struggle. Now, after doing that, you then have Cable begin to freak out. And the reason why, because let's not forget that Cable told Domino to tell Mr. Tolliver that she was going to set up charges around the entire building to blow up the base, because right now, too many people know about the actual location of the base of X-Force. But those charges were supposed to go off later than usual. Well, right after you have X-Force being able to take down Weapon Prime, well, then out of nowhere, those charges begin to go off. Those bombs are going off left and right and bringing the whole place down. And so you have X-Force and also Weapon Prime just freaking out and trying their best to get the heck out of that place before they all, be killed by the collapsed building. But then we have to jump over to, well, Mr. Tolliver, and we see him celebrating the idea of the possibility that X-Force is officially dead. And the only reason why I'm saying that because, well, we jump over to him and we see him watching the news. And you have the news reporting that there was a massive earthquake in that area where the base of X-Force was at. And right now you have authorities trying their best to find any dead bodies at all. But apparently, to Mr. Tolliver, that they're not going to find any dead bodies at all. That X-Force is officially dead and they're going to stay dead. But then we see him talking to Domino. And so we're still kind of wondering if this is the real Domino, which means the other Domino is most likely a fake, somebody pretending to be her. But again, we still have no idea just yet. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.